Hi world, it's Dr. Deborah here, and we are speaking today with Dr. Ali from Johannesburg, South Africa. It's a pleasure to see you today. Thank you so much for joining.
Good evening from, I think it's cloudy South Africa, and thank you for inviting me.
My pleasure. Today, I think it would be fantastic to talk about not only One Health, but also the importance of mentorship, the importance of volunteering, the importance of science communication. So if you're okay with those topics, maybe we could dive
Yeah,
in. Yeah.
those
But
are my passion.
but first, you have so many letters after your name. You have DVM, you have PhD, you have PR, Sci, Nat. Can you explain to the viewers what does that mean? What is your story? How did you get all those letters after your name?
I was born in Iran, and I did my veterinary because from the young age I loved to become a vet. My uncle was a vet, and I would volunteer with him sometimes when he was going to villages to treat animals. So I love to become a vet. But after becoming a vet and after practicing for a short time, I actually thought that I actually more into the research and the science part of the veterinary rather than treating animals. So then I started my first PhD in Iran. Then I was in the middle of that PhD that I found some interesting parasites, and then I got to go to a research visit in Bulgaria. And then I somehow I was looking for some opportunities to join a lab to advance my skills. Then I found a second PhD opportunity in Italy that I started that second PhD. Then and after that, in a conference in Italy, I met somebody from South Africa and just said, "Do you want to come to South Africa?" And for a biologist, I believe two parts of the world are so important to have the experience of working there. One is Africa, one is South America, because of biodiversity, because of culture, for many reasons. So when I got that offer of coming to Africa, I didn't even think about it. So I came to South Africa, and I must be honest, in the first year, I wanted actually to run away, because of lots of different hectic situation. Because, for instance, there is no public transport. I hated to drive car, but in Africa, if you don't have a car, you can't leave. But then after a while, I found a lot of research opportunities, and I found it so interesting that it's now, I think, 10 years I'm in South Africa doing different type of research. So it was just the passion of my research that I traveled a lot, and wherever there was an opportunity, I just jumped into it, even if it was as a second PhD, because for me, the degree was not important. I wanted to be busy with research wherever it is. And, coming from some countries like me from Iran, sometimes it's not easy to find opportunities because of political reasons. So in those days, it was not easy for me to find a postdoc or come back. And, so that was the second PhD was an opportunity for me to jump out and get some experience of a very good professional lab in Italy that I learned a lot there. Yeah.
Wow. Wow, what a journey. Okay, so you got your DVM, you get your vet degree in Iran, then you become a biologist, and then you become a parasitologist. Am I hearing you right?
Yes, almost, because the PhD that I did in Iran was also veterinary parasitology. So yeah, yes.
Interesting. And it seems like maybe for the benefit of the audience, can you explain the difference between a second PhD and a postdoctorate?
Yeah, second PhD is like another degree. You are still a student. So you are doing another PhD that it's in some countries in past, it was common. For instance, in Bulgaria, if you want to become a full professor, you must get a doctorate in science. That is a different one with your first PhD, that you must have a, big dissertation and all those things. So the second PhD is like a degree. But when you go to postdoc, when you finish your PhD, doesn't matter your first one or second one or whatever, when you finish your PhD, you have this opportunity to start a postdoc if you find the right postdoc, because nowadays it's not easy to find postdoc because the salary is quite a lot. But a postdoc is like a factory. You need like a factory, you need to do research, so much production. You are just producing. You are not a student anymore. You don't attend courses. You don't have exam, but you need to produce. But of course, we have some differences between countries. For instance, in South Africa, a postdoc is still considered as a student. So they don't, in many universities, for instance, the university that I was there, I was not allowed to teach. And that was not good because with teaching, I could have more students, I could have more projects. And that was actually one of the reasons I went toward getting volunteers and mentees in my lab, because I was not allowed to teach. I had a lot of research ideas in my mind, but I didn't have students that I can make a team or to encourage them to come and do parasitology. So that was one of the reasons I said, what should I do? I said, let me advertise to get volunteers. Let's see if I can encourage or convince the students that parasites are also good. And that was amazing. That was the start of, I think I had about 50 something volunteers in 9 years, and that was fantastic. I have a still contact with them. They are still continuing to engage with me, and I benefited a lot.
That's incredible. That's incredible. We'll definitely dive into the volunteer bit soon and the mentorship section soon. But I wanted to ask a question that might get us onto a tangent, but it's worth asking. In a previous interview, I interviewed your wife, Dr. Tavakol, and she told us a story about how she gave you a t-shirt or a shirt with a parasite on it and a picture of a parasite. And also she was demonstrating a mask with a flea and a tick. And that led us into talking not only, of course, about science art, which was the main discussion, but also science communication. And I was hoping maybe we could dive into that. And also, did you like that gift from your wife?
Yeah, no, that was actually fantastic gift. You know, uh, originally when I saw that I'm a little bit suffering at university. I was receiving some students that they were not very interested in the projects that they had. So I started to dive in, and I saw that the career guidance at our schools, in rural schools in Limpopo province that I was working, was not that perfect. So many of the students were coming toward the grade 12 with the thinking that they want to become medical doctor. And then when they couldn't make it to medical medicine, then they say, okay, what should I do? Let me go and do zoology. So I was a little bit suffering because I had a student that was not really passionate. If I was asking a student to spend evening at lab, they would get surprised. So then I thought, what should I do? And that was a time that I started to engage with the rural schools. At the beginning, it was just going there for simple career guidance, just to tell them what is veterinary, what is parasitology, how can they become biologists, and all those things. But then little by little, I also brought some science communication activities. For instance, Dr. Sare, my wife, was doing science art, and I would get those science pieces with myself to the classes. So when I was talking about veterinary, I would also show them a parasite and say, okay, this is what will happen. Then that was actually the start. We did a lot of activities. Those science art of Dr. Sare, I don't know, those masks, the t-shirt, even I made some, I call them science pin. So what's happening, for instance, this louse was named after my daughter. I found it on a bulbul, and it was a new species. So I named it after my daughter. And then with my own money, I made these pins, and I would sort of give them to the kids when I was asking them questions and they were answering right, I would give them as a gift. So to put on their clothes. And this will help for science communication. So then I expanded, I even brought ticks also, the ticks that I was finding on different animals. I would still donate them to the pupils and kids. So we brought different, what's that? I even took microscopes to the schools. I started to expand my activity. The funding, of course, was a problem that I had to spend from my own money, but fortunately, my university was giving me the freedom. Just, not living, for instance, filling a leave form to go. I had that freedom just to travel, but the rest of the costs were from myself. So I would go to different rural schools from different grades. So I actually started to design different modules for different grades. So I wouldn't talk, for instance, if I was talking about these laws for grade 2, I was talking very simple language. But when I was talking for grade 11, then I would say more details. And in many cases, I took microscopes with myself to the classes. For one of the classes, the teacher told me that the kids are interested to see the kidneys. So what happened that I found the dead pigeon that I had in freezer in the lab. I brought the pigeon to class. It was grade 4, and I dissected for them, and they loved that. So this passion of kids actually was so motivating for me. So I was actually encouraged that, you see, what's the reason that I'm getting the students that are not passionate. It's not because they are not smart. They are smart, but in the education system, they are not guided well. So that's the reason they all want to become, or most of them, they want to become medical doctors. Otherwise, there are talents there. They have passion. But the thing is that we need to show them different fields of science, and then they will see that, wow, maybe this field is much better than medicine that I was thinking. Yeah.
Right. There are so many things that you said that I was thinking, oh, there's so many threads. We can speak for hours about about that. And for the audience, keep in mind the pigeon that he did bring came from the lab, and it had already passed away. So no animals were hurt in the making of this class, but also a life was served for another purpose, right? And so children were
Yeah,
learning.
I can just add that when I came to South Africa, I was looking for samples for research. Then once what I found, I saw enormous number of roadkill animals. That was
To
a
One Health a
motive.
little bit more and talk about the future of One Health in your opinion. Where do you see the young leaders of One Health going today? What are they doing? What are their interests? And I know that you have a lot of different mentors through the program called ISOHA, which is the International Student One Health Alliance. And how did you become a mentor? And what is that process like?
Yeah, the thing is that as the beginning, I was just advertising at my own university, or I was going to the schools, and I would offer the grade 11, 12 that if you are interested to come to my lab and see, observe, and get some experience, you can come. Unfortunately, because I was living on the university campus, and the school kids wanted to come over weekend, that was fantastic opportunity. So many of my weekends were spent in the lab, that these kids would come and we would train them. But after a while, my projects actually increased in number. And then I needed more people, and I wanted more exposure. Then I tried to look at all these official programs that I could judge or I could mentor. So there was some science competitions. For instance, in South Africa, I started to judge for them. During those judgings, I would find the talents that are interested in One Health and diseases, and I would work with them, and I would invite them to my lab. And then that was a time that I started to get more officially involved with mentorship programs of different organizations. For instance, like Green Matter in South Africa, they accept biodiversity mentees. So then I saw her a few years ago. I saw her. I actually offered them by myself that I love, and my nights are free. I have free time. And why not to fill it with more? Because I wanted to make an interface. That was something that I found it very useful when in the lab I had my own students, direct students, And then in the meantime, in the meanwhile, I was inviting the school kids to come to the lab. Then the school kids and my students would make teams. My students would mentor those kids. So that interface was so useful. I saw so much benefits in that, providing that opportunity, that then after that I started to think, why not also involving international mentees with South Africans? So that was something that I approached ISOHA, because I knew ISOHA has mentees from all around the world. That was, and I offered them that, okay, I'm volunteer to mentor, and then the mentees of ISOHA during mentorship programs, I usually ask for permission first, and if they agree, I invite observers. I invite South African mentees of mine as observers to attend our virtual meetings, especially now everything is virtual. So I try to again put that interface between Africans, South Africans, and international students, because everybody has a different insight. They are from different universities. Some of them are from the best universities of the world. Now putting them together with somebody from South Africa, that interface is very fruitful for everybody. And I sometimes I just sit and observe how these two groups are discussing with each other over my mentorship programs, and I just enjoy that. We have the talents all around the world. If we just provide them this interface, this platform for them to sit together, they will find each other and they will start to plan.
Yeah. And certainly in South Africa, there are plenty of fantastic schools. I'm curious, could you name the countries? No need to name the schools, but can you name the countries where some of your mentees have come from or where they're living now?
Yeah, it's a few years that I actively look for mentees from different countries. For instance, so far I had from South Africa and my own country, Iran. But then I expanded my activities. I started to post on social media, on Twitter, and then the ISOHA mentees that this year I have, there are two of them from USA, one of them from Canada. But then I have also mentees from Pakistan and Iran. I mentioned I have two from Afghanistan that I'm very, very interested, because I don't know much about biodiversity in those countries. I actually saw a very nice sentence a few months ago, and that says in the mentorship program, mentor and mentee, they bounce together. And I really, really believe that. It's not a one-way advantage only for the mentee. No, the experiences of the mentees, the photos that they send me. Just two days ago, one of my mentees from Nigeria sent me a photo of a One Health issue in her village. And that was fantastic. I love that. I haven't been to Nigeria, but now through my mentee, I have an eye in Nigeria. I can see the One Health issues. And that opens my mind, for designing projects to understand the One Health issues. These mentorship programs help me also, so it's a kind of a bouncing together, mentor and mentee.
I completely relate to that story. Completely. When it comes to the interns with One Health Lessons, my goodness, I'm learning so much from them and they're learning from me. I hope. I hope. That's the hope. That's wonderful. And in the future, Dr. Ali, I think we were talking about having, some of your mentees working closely with One Health Lessons and becoming certified lesson leaders and getting more lessons into their own communities wherever they live in the world. So I think that's incredible. Plus, it will help with their science communication skills. So, just to wrap up, we've spoken about a lot of things. Um, Maybe we can just touch upon a little bit more the volunteering aspect of 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 the future of One Health. Why? What are the things that are getting in our way right now? What can we do about the problems that we're facing? And also, I want to have enough time for some last words in case you wanted to share anything in particular with our viewers.
Sure, volunteering counts a lot. That was my motto. When I was advertising at University of Limpopo, on top of my flyer, it was written volunteering counts. And that counting is for many, many reasons. It's not only for the volunteer to get experience, it's also a benefit for his or her CV. Especially now because of this COVID and the economic crisis that is happening because of this pandemic, the employment is becoming worse and worse, especially for us in South Africa that we already had a high unemployment. The situation is getting worse. And these kind of activities like One Health lessons, like volunteering in different organizations, that will add to their CV, that will add to their skills. They will get a certificate, for instance, for the One Health lessons. And as you mentioned, the science communication, at the end of the day, I actually tweeted a few days ago that science communication and mentorship must be like an annual tax for anybody with master degree and above. It must be like a tax that nobody can say, no, 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 I don't want to do that. So for those that have master and above, they must do something once a year. That was something that I was telling my colleagues that, I was crazy of doing these activities, at University of Limpopo. So I was doing it almost every weekend. I had a program in my lab. Either it was a talk, either it was a dissection, something was happening. But I was telling my colleagues that you don't need to be crazy like me, but just one activity per year, per person, and we can make a big, big change. And these programs like One Health Lessons is a great practice. It's a great practice and great platform to teach young people for science communication, for a better communication. Because science communication, even myself, I'm actually attending the One Health lesson to know what is your procedure and all those things. And that's nice. I already attended one of the virtual meetings with, I think it was Vanessa. That was great to see these young people with so much passion. It actually is giving me energy. And this and I want to say that no science communicator is perfect. We all need to exchange our experiences. The experience that I have in South Africa, in a different culture, different context, different education system, can be beneficial for somebody from USA, and vice versa. The experiences that you have in that side can be benefiting us. So that's the advantage of any program like this One Health lessons, like ISOHA mentorship. I actually recommend to all of my mentees that you do one of them based on the interest and passion that you have. Do something. Either it is One Health lessons, something that gives you a better platform to practice and get experiences.
Well, I have to say, your mentees are very lucky to have you in their life. Thank you so much for this time together. I'm sure you've inspired plenty of people who are watching today. Thank you again for joining us, and onwards and upwards, world. See you later. Bye.